you followed this story for a very long time. Help us remind our viewers. Give us a profile of Commander Soleimani.
Yeah.
Who was he, and why was he a target?
Yeah, Qasem Soleimani headed something called the Quds Force, which is an elite force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guards, kind of a combination of special forces and CIA put together. He headed it for 20 years, and actually I've been thinking, he wasn't always an enemy of the United States. Back after 9/11, the Quds Force actually worked indirectly with the United States to overthrow the Taliban government in Afghanistan. But it was the U.S. decision to invade Iraq in 2003 that turned the Quds Force into an enemy of the United States through its support of a variety of Iraqi militias. And over the years, it's said that some 600 American servicemen died in attacks that were connected to these Iraqi groups supported by Iran. And certainly we have seen incidents in recent months, but I'm very worried about the prospects for further escalation. I'm very worried that there will be retaliation for this against American diplomats or military personnel or innocent civilians. It was a very risky step.
I mean, to the point that you were just mentioning, the Pentagon is also out continuing the statement that he did plan an attack on U.S. diplomats as well. Now, to your point there, that you're worried about a response here, take us through the possibilities.
Oh my, I mean, Iran is a very influential country, particularly in the Middle East, but not just there. It has an alliance with a group called Hezbollah in Lebanon, which has agents all around the world, including in the Western Hemisphere. I think it's probably going to take the Iranian government a while to digest this. This is a huge blow. And they will find a way to strike back. But what, of course, is most concerning, Iran also has a nuclear program. I would think this is the end of what remained of that nuclear deal. I think the Iranians are going to be very aggressive now about building up that program again. They can act against other kinds of targets in the region, non-Americans, people seen as allied with the United States. Things have been tense since the United States quit the nuclear deal, but they're going to be even worse now.
Barbara, this is Selena in Beijing. So you're saying this is essentially the end of a nuclear deal? That there's no way to salvage this now?
I can't see how there is any prospect of talks between the United States and Iran after something like this. No, I mean, the prospects were already fairly dim, but no Iranian president could possibly sit down with Donald Trump after something like this.
And this marks a series of violent episodes that have already strained relations, as you said. In terms of the broader implications of future relations between these countries, where do we go from here, and would things change if 2020 leads to a different president?
Well, I would hope so. I would hope so. But this is the worst it's been in 40 years, in my view. The worst it's been since Iran held American hostages at our embassy. This is a huge crisis. I'm not sure Donald Trump understands the implications of what he has unleashed.
Donald Trump, in fact, just tweeted, Barbara, just the image of an American flag. I mean, conclude what you want on that tweet. I guess my question now is...
He thinks he's a big hero, but a lot more people are probably going to die because of this.
I mean, that was my next question. I mean, should we start considering, not saying that we will, but should we start considering the U.S. getting into a regional war now?
It's really hard to predict at this point. I mean, we have to see what happens in Iraq. How does the Iraqi government survive this? It wasn't just Qasem Soleimani who was assassinated, but also a very prominent Iraqi. Head of one of these militias, and someone with a great deal of political power as well. We're going to see the ripples flowing out from this for a long time.
I just want to mention again that the U.S. had said the strike against Iranians in Iraq was aimed at deterrence, and the U.S. says that the general had been planning attacks. What exactly should we make of that, and what would have been a more appropriate response?
Look, I'm not privy to the information that the administration says that it has. I think that the United States overreacted with the killing of the 25 members of the militia, which of course led to an effort to besiege the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad. I think the United States made a huge mistake when it pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in May of 2018. That's what really set off this escalatory spiral. Where it goes now is going to depend on the actions of those in Tehran, how they evaluate this, how their allies throughout the region evaluate this. And of course, the United States is in a situation with a president who has no experience in a crisis like this, who is operating with advisors who have very little experience in such a crisis. The so-called adults in the room that came in with the Trump administration are all gone. So I understand why the price of oil is climbing very high. I think this is going to be a real white-knuckle period for many people for quite some time.
I'd appreciate if you'd elaborate a little bit more. You said there are a lot of U.S. lives at danger. What exactly would that look like?
Well, Iran has agents in many places in the world where we have embassies, where we have, where we have soldiers stationed. Again, we don't know how they are going to respond to this. This man was a huge figure in the Iranian system, and they will not let this death go without some form of retaliation.